pandemic, and the work on all CPEC projects continued unhindered, mainly due to the resolute commitment of the top leadership of both the countries. It was a reflection of the priority assigned by both China and Pakistan to CPEC that even in the most challenging of circumstances, the CPEC projects continued and met their deadlines, and that is a source of great satisfaction for all of us who are involved in CPEC. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate you, Excellency, and the people of China on 70 years of our diplomatic relationship between Pakistan and China, and on completion of a highly successful 100 years of the Communist Party of China. As we proudly stand here, and there is much that we have to be proud about, the developments that have taken place since CPEC was launched several years back. The first phase has already provided dividends in the shape of filling in voids in energy and communication infrastructure, and phase 2 of CPEC is now successfully underway. And this phase 2 has a much broader scope of cooperation than the initial projects or the phase 1 of CPEC. And I will talk about some of the details, but the new JWGs, which His Excellency also mentioned in his speech, and I'll talk a little bit more about them, and accelerated industrial cooperation initiated in the form of new special economic zones at Rashakai and Allama Iqbal Industrial City in Faisalabad are a testimony to the broadening and deepening of CPEC. We have also progressed on development and operationalization of Gwadar Port and the Free Zone, and it is a reflection of the optimism and the confidence that we have in the future of CPEC, particularly the industrial cooperation. The CPEC South Zone, which was initially developed for investments there, is now more or less complete, and the Prime Minister recently inaugurated the North Zone of Gwadar, and I'm happy to inform Your Excellency that the North Zone of Gwadar is 35 times, or almost in fact 37 times larger than the first zone, the South Zone of Gwadar. So that's a reflection of the confidence that we have in the expected acceleration of investments coming in from both sets of investors, Chinese and Pakistanis. And as both countries have always said earlier also, we would in fact welcome investment from third countries as well. Learning from the Chinese experience and in line with our Prime Minister's vision, we have shifted our development focus towards remote regions of Pakistan in order to uplift deprived areas and alleviate poverty. Prime Minister Imran Khan has always emphasized the fact that the foremost responsibility of the state is to protect the most vulnerable, the most needy in society, and to try and bring at par those regions of the country which have been left behind in development and bring them at par with the developed region. And in many ways, that is also the strategy which China has adopted under the leadership of the Communist Party over the last several decades with remarkable success. The government of Pakistan, therefore, is investing substantial resources of its own in addition to the CPEC projects for the western route. And I'm happy to have sitting here with me the Chief Minister of Balochistan. Many of these projects are now underway in the province of Balochistan, and that will also make Gwadar a far more effective and a far more attractive port and a destination for investment and trade. In transport infrastructure, ML1 remains an extremely important project. It is the biggest single project under CPEC so far, and the Railways Minister is sitting to my right, and he is very keenly interested. And as Your Excellency had mentioned, we have made progress in ML1 discussions, and we hope that now that these bilateral negotiations are at an advanced stage, that these will be concluded soon, and that we can start to move into the implementation phase, so the railways infrastructure of Pakistan can be upgraded, which has unfortunately seen a lot of neglect over the last few decades. The majority of our population is dependent on agriculture and livestock. Almost two-thirds of Pakistan's population is directly or indirectly dependent on agriculture and livestock. And there is tremendous potential for improvement and modernization in this field. And that is why it was very exciting for me that a JWG for agriculture was signed when we had visited last year soon after the outbreak of COVID, as a demonstration of Pakistan's commitment and a reflection of the close relationship between the two countries, led by the Honorable President of Pakistan and the Foreign Minister and myself. The three of us had gone there, and that's when the two new JWGs on agriculture and science and technology were signed. And I'm very happy that we have seen progress on both. There is a very rich agenda which has been developed by the JWG on agriculture, and I am confident that that will contribute towards accelerating the development of agriculture and livestock in Pakistan, and hence directly affecting the lives of tens of millions of Pakistanis and helping them improve their levels of income and make their lives better. The Chinese research and technical advancement in agriculture is well known, and that is something in particular that we look forward to in terms of cooperation. And as China has achieved great food security and economic prosperity for the masses, we believe that this cooperation, particularly through this joint working group in agriculture, will contribute towards the same for Pakistan. As we move into a broader, more expanded CPEC, we have high expectations from our joint working group on science and technology. If I was to make a comment there, I would say agriculture is what we need today, because as I said, two-thirds of our population is dependent on agriculture. But for our tomorrow, for our future, we need to develop our science and technology infrastructure. And there is already tremendous progress that Pakistan has even achieved in many different fields of science and technology, and the cooperation between Pakistan and China in this domain of science and technology, I think, can usher in a very exciting new era where you see more and more that scientific and technological developments originate from Asia in the 21st century, and not just Asian countries importing technology from the developed countries in the north and the west. Our emphasis, Your Excellency, I'm happy to tell you that not only is the scope of CPEC broadening, but we are also conscious that with this expanded scope, it is even more critical that the operational side of CPEC is also made much more effective. And we have taken a number of decisions in this regard, and I'll share some of these with you. In order to improve coordination at working level, we have initiated the process of designating focal persons at working levels in all relevant entities. These focal persons will be in direct contact with their counterparts on the Chinese side, and this, in our opinion, would accelerate and speed up resolution of any issues that crop up. The government of Pakistan has also set up a Pak-China Economic Relationship Steering Committee, very powerful committee which has representatives of all the key federal agencies in there, and I had requested the Prime Minister, he is consented, and now the provinces are also being made a part of it. So all the problems were cut across. These are the operational issues. For the policy issues, there was already a CPEC forum available to us in the shape of the Cabinet Committee on CPEC. But for all the operational issues, now this forum has been set up where federal and provincial governments can all sit together and decisions can be taken to resolve any outstanding issues and accelerate the removal of any bottlenecks that may creep up. We are also working to ensure stable policy, and Your Excellency also commented on this, and he emphasized the need for improving our incentive structure for attracting investment. But we believe that in addition to incentives, which are of course an important part of decision making for investment, the investment climate is also extremely important. I'm happy to share with you that this was an area of great emphasis for the Prime Minister Imran Khan, and in fact was one of the highlights of the manifesto of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf on which he fought the last election, that we will try and achieve a substantial improvement in the ease of doing business. After COVID, those rankings have been put at a pause, but in the very first year, Pakistan improved its ranking by almost 30 countries. We saw a very, very substantial improvement in our ease of doing business rankings, which are done by the World Bank. Continuing further and specifically related to SEZ, the Prime Minister has had more than one meeting recently in which he has directed the Board of Investment for further strengthening the powers of the CPEC Special Economic Zone authorities and management companies to provide full facilitation to investors. And that golden target that we have had for some time of having a single window operation, the Prime Minister has now given very clear directions as well as clear deadlines for now achieving that, and the Board of Investment is actively working on that, and we shall inshallah see final decision making and formal decision making in this regard soon. It has also been decided to establish a dedicated investor facilitation centers for all Chinese investors under the CPEC authority. This decision was also approved by the Prime Minister, and within the next 2 months we should have this investor facilitation center for all Chinese, and this is dedicated specifically for Chinese companies operating in Pakistan, and we hope that the level of service that will be provided to these investors will be as good, if not better, than anywhere else in the world. We have also brought about significant improvements in the visa regime for Chinese businessmen and workers. This used to be an area of concern, and the Federal Cabinet took decisions about 2 or 3 months earlier, and which have made it much easier for Chinese businessmen and workers to get visas for extended periods to work in Pakistan. And I am hoping that with these measures, the Chinese workers and investors will be greatly facilitated in visiting Pakistan. Your Excellency brought up a very, very important issue, and that is the issue of security. I really don't need to tell Your Excellency and the Chinese side about the profile of CPEC globally. And the fact is that there are many countries in the world which are unhappy and nervous by the successful development of CPEC taking place. And therefore, particularly the CPEC projects, the Chinese investors working in Pakistan need a level of security that is commensurate with this global profile of this project. I would want to use this occasion to sympathize with the families of those Chinese and Pakistani workers who were killed in the accident related to the Dasu construction project. Due to the bravery of the security personnel, the East Bay Expressway did not result in any deaths other than the security person himself who laid his life to make that to save the others. So I want to compliment all those people who were involved in providing that security and who were putting their lives at risk to ensure the security of Pakistani and Chinese working on these projects. But at the same time, the Prime Minister, obviously it was a big event, and the Prime Minister himself then led the reviews. The top civilian and military authorities in the country involved in security issues got together. An expanded security system has been designed. It has been shared with the Chinese side, and we are confident that despite the risk that I have mentioned earlier, inshallah, as we move forward, we should be able to provide a secure working environment for all those people working on these joint collaboration projects, both Chinese and Pakistanis. You also, Your Excellency, mentioned Gwadar, and let me tell you, the security dimension or the welfare dimension that we are trying to create is not just based on security arrangement. We believe that if the people of the region where the CPEC investments are taking place see the fruits of these investments and see the fruits of development and see themselves as being beneficiaries of these developments, that perhaps is the biggest security blanket that can be created. And as a part of that, the federal government of Pakistan and the provincial government of Balochistan both got together, and there's a special development package which has been announced for those districts where Gwadar is located and in and around Gwadar and that general territory. And I'm happy to report that there is rapid progress being made in there, and under the leadership of the Prime Minister Imran Khan and Mr. Jam Kamal, the Chief Minister of Balochistan, excellent progress is being made on those developments as well. The last point that I want to refer to is the issue related to the payment of CPEC IPPs. As you know, our energy sector has faced challenges of liquidity, and the government is fully cognizant of it. A very comprehensive reform program has been put in place. A number of decisions, some very, very tough decisions have been taken in this regard to ensure the fundamentals of the sector, and we are confident that the vision laid out by the Prime Minister will be executed in the next few years, and you will see a sustainable energy sector of Pakistan emerging from that, and all the legacy problems that were inherited are gradually being taken care of. In that transition, there have been, as I said, I acknowledge there have been liquidity issues. We are working with the Finance Ministry and the Economic Cooperation Committee of the Economic Coordination Committee of the Cabinet to make sure that there is a clear payment schedule that can be developed, so that it provides confidence not just to the investors but also to the bankers and lenders to these projects, and inshallah that will be done very soon. All in all, Your Excellency, my message to the government of China and to the people of China is that the government of Pakistan under the leadership of Prime Minister Imran Khan stands fully committed to CPEC and consider it critical for our future growth and development. We will continue to work with Your Excellency and your team at NDRC and the other agencies on the Chinese side which are supporting CPEC, and all the ministries, the provinces. As you can see, this is an issue, CPEC is an issue on which there is no political divide. All the federal, provincial governments, the government of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, the leadership of the political parties across the board are all supportive of CPEC, all standing behind CPEC, and inshallah ta'ala we will, working as a team together, the Chinese side and the Pakistani side, we will realize the vision of our two leaders and meet the expectations of the two nations. Thank you very much. Pak Chin Dosti Zindabad, Pak Chin Yoi Wansoy.
YouTube पर Googly TV देखने के लिए youtube.com की सर्च बार में Googly TV टाइप करें। Googly TV के पेज पर सुर्ख रंग के सब्सक्रिप्शन वाले बटन पर क्लिक करना ना भूलिए। YouTube पर अपलोड होने वाली वीडियो से बाखबर रहने के लिए बेल आइकॉन पर क्लिक कीजिए। आपको हर नई आने वाली वीडियो के बारे में नोटिफिकेशन मौसूल हो जाएगा।